What's up, everybody? It is the second episode of It's Called Football, the Premier League podcast hosted by myself, Jerry Walker, and Jackson Fyda. And Jackson, we are past the second week of the season for all but two teams. We'll touch on the situation in Luton in a little bit, but it's exciting, fun stuff. Only three teams are still perfect with two wins each. Before we get into that, how are you doing on this Tuesday morning?
I'm good. It's the last day before school starts for me, so enjoying it while I can.
Oh yeah, can believe it. It's that weird time of year. Everyone's heading back to school for the most part. It's that beginning of the season. Going to see college football starts this weekend.
Yeah,
Premier League football started a couple weekends ago. The NFL starts relatively soon. It's a great time in sports, but we are here to talk about the Premier League. And as I said, only 9 matches this past weekend. Luton and Town and Burnley were postponed because of the issues surrounding Luton getting their stadium, Kenilworth Road, up to Premier League requirements, and it's kind of a bummer because that stadium is so cool.
yeah. I kind of wish they made exceptions here. You know, I I don't know. I feel like part of the charm of the game we love is that it's for everyone.
Yeah.
So I it feels so superficial that you're not going to play the game because of the stadium. Like just play the game.
Hmm.
They're making the steps to play. I don't know, man. I just think you should be able to play the game.
I agree, and I'm curious because they play a midweek cup tie not a week from today, next Tuesday at home against Gillingham, and I don't know if they'll even be able to play that at home or what the deal will be there is because I think it's the fact that it's still under construction. They won't be able to get in there. Then they play West Ham the following weekend. So looks like it could be chaos for Luton Town. And then it just throws everything into a weird shape of, oh, now we have to play 3 games in a week and a half sort of thing
Yeah.
later in the season after everyone's kind of tired and all that.
No, I get it. Like right now, obviously they have to postpone it because they're doing the construction. But I just go back to it again. If you're the Premier League, why wouldn't you just let them keep the stadium?
Yeah.
I feel like that would be such a unique venue. You know, yeah, I think they've got plans to build a new stadium already, right? Like a,
I believe so, but I really hope they don't. I love that.
I
I
agree.
love the feeling and or at least the look of you're walking through someone's backyard to get into your stadium, and it's just cool. Cool
Yeah,
look
you
for
don't
it.
you don't have that with anyone else. I just think you're kind of like eliminating a incredibly unique aspect of one of your teams if you're the Premier League. I just don't get it. I really don't.
Yeah, and realistically, at the end of the day, this would be the only season I personally think that we'll see Luton's
Mhm.
Worth Road in the Premier League. I do think they get relegated,
Yeah.
but we might as well enjoy it while we can, and hopefully they can kind of get it going, get it up to standard soon, because
Mhm.
that's going to be one that I know the TV audiences in the U.S. will be all over
Oh,
showing matches from there
yeah. And if I had enough money and enough time, that would definitely be an away day.
on a great away day.
Yeah.
But moving to the action that did take place, as it was one match Friday, 5 on Saturday, 2 Sunday, and the one match on Monday. I'll start with the one on Friday. Nottingham Forest, Sheffield United. Oh, got off to a quick start for Forest. The way Man City did in the opening match of the season last Friday, 3 minutes is all it took for Forest to get on the board, thanks to Awoniyi, Awoniyi, who got his second goal of the season already.
Yeah, dude, he's actually so good. When you watch him play, he's actually so good. First of all, he scored against Arsenal, completely just kind of I don't know how to phrase this, but made Ben White his bitch basically when he came across.
That's pretty
That's
much
that's like the only way I could really think of describing it. Like, and then in this as well, this whole game, first of all, gets the goal that early, but he just looks so good. His movement, his physicality, his ball control. He's an actual baller, and he's a huge, huge, huge asset for Forest.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's just been such a good pickup. Forest is another team that kind of they went out, bought a whole load of players at last January in the transfer window, and a bit of more over the summer, and all the players are kind of fitting in together, and it's not looking like a super safe team, but it's definitely looking like a team that is the very possibilities of finishing outside that relegation zone,
Mhm.
especially considering some of the other teams around them in that area.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like throughout the years, by that I mean 2 years, I haven't really given them enough respect, but they've looked good early on. Even in that Arsenal game, even though Arsenal, I mean, dominated for most of the game, they stuck with it and then made it interesting at the end. And it was actually some pretty scary moments. And I think this Forest team's pretty good. I really do, and I think they definitely have enough to stay up. Winning a game like this is important for them because Sheffield United, newly promoted, going to be a team that's also kind of towards the bottom of the Premier League table. You have to figure. So getting that 89th minute winner through Chris Wood, that's got to be huge for their confidence going forward.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Chris Wood only came into the match replacing Awaniwi in the 84th minute, so almost an instant impact, getting the assist from Sergio Aurier. But those are players. Aurier, Chris Wood, um, even to a lesser extent, Anthony Elanga, Matt Turner. These are all guys that have played in the Premier League before, at least here and there. So it's not like it's a team similar to, say, Luton or to some of Sheffield, where these guys haven't really played Premier League football before. This Forest team has, and it's definitely noticeable the way they've started this season so far.
Mm-hmm. It definitely is, and dude, they look. I'm thinking they look pretty good. Again, there's always that little bit where some teams come flying out of the gate. I'm thinking of Norwich a few years ago when they had Pookie just going off. And you're like, oh damn, Norwich is legit, and then they fall off. So it'll be interesting to see if this happens with Forest. And again, we're only 2 games in, and they technically only have one win, so it's really not that impressive. But they still look far better than I thought they would look.
Oh yeah, and it looks better than some of the other teams that just have one win at the moment. But that's what it is. We will see how Forest ends up doing as the season goes on. As you said, only 2 matches in. They have 36 more to go. It's going to be a long season potentially for Forest, but off to a promising and good-looking start.
Mm,
Moving on to Saturday, a couple of earlier matches weren't overly that exciting. Quite a few blowouts. Fulham lost to Brentford at home 3-0. That was extremely disappointing. Fulham played terribly there for
yeah.
them, but not much on that one. Liverpool 3-1 against Bournemouth. Do want to talk on this one a little bit because obviously Luis Diaz gets on the score sheet. Mo Salah misses a penalty, then puts in the rebound. Then Alexi McAllister gets sent off in his 100th appearance. That's not exactly how you want to celebrate your 100th Premier League appearance.
Yeah, no, not one bit. Um, I'm just thinking of all the red cards that went on this week in general, but yeah,
Yeah.
especially because you're in a situation where you don't really need to do anything like that. You're up 2-1 against Bournemouth and you're dominating the game. There's no need to end up getting yourself sent off. There really isn't. Now they ended up taking care of business because again, I don't think Bournemouth is very good. I was shocked when they were winning that game. First of all, they're up 1-0. I
Oh
remember
yeah.
I was at breakfast with my team. We were like, "Bro, what?" And now
Yeah.
obviously you turn on the game, you see Liverpool just bam, 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 like every play, and you're like, "Okay, this is how it's gonna go." But if you're McAllister, there's just no need. I am gonna say Burnett did get 13 shots and 5 on target. I
Yeah.
still don't think Liverpool's defense, especially right now, is really that great. I mean, offensively, they took it to him. I mean, they had 26 shots, was it 10 on target? So they actually doubled them in that capacity, but they still gave up 13 shots, 5 of which were on target, which is definitely not good enough defensively for Liverpool. And I just feel like they still look pretty shaky, all things considered, at the start of the season. But I mean, at the end of the day, you get the win, down a man for over 30 minutes. So you got to be happy with that move on. But I still am not overly convinced right now by this Liverpool team.
No, because as you mentioned, obviously the defense has been shaky, and this wasn't even against a good attacking side. It's not against a Man City and Arsenal, even to an extent at the moment, a Brighton. It's against Bournemouth, who really nothing against them, but their front four doesn't really put fear into anybody. I wouldn't say in the Premier League,
Not one
one
bit.
of those dangerous ones. So that's a concern. On the McAllister red card, though, I don't know if you saw the news today. It has been overturned. Liverpool's damn, I'm blanking on the word. Appeal Liverpool's appeal has been approved, so they will have Mac Allister back for the next 3 matches that he was meant to be suspended. Good news for them, but still, I just kind of a boneheaded play that could have gone either way in terms of being a suspension or not. But
Yeah.
it was the fact that they will be having him back.
Yeah. How do you get the red though? I actually didn't see the red.
It was kind of one of those weird ones that it was just like a high kick into a tackle
Yeah.
that it looked like it could have been a yellow, but it was more since it was a straight red, they sent him off. I don't think VAR reviewed it in this instance, but it was one of those ones that it was really up to whatever the referee thought it would be, and it's kind of up to his interpretation, and he went with the red. So I could have seen it being a yellow, was given a red, and I had no issues with it being given a red. So
Mm-hmm.
one of those ones.
Huge news that
Yeah,
they keep him. So
yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, that's another issue with Liverpool is their midfield's really not that great either.
mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
looking at yeah, what are you gonna say?
No, you could go on. I was just gonna say, going back to it, Liverpool right now, I'm not convinced whatsoever. Like you said, their midfield, it's still not just nothing they're doing right now is really making me feel like this Liverpool team is that great. I mean, maybe they can qualify for Europe. I could definitely see that. But I had them finishing in the Champions League spots. I just don't think that's going to happen right now when I'm watching them play. But again, it is 2 games into the season, so we'll see how things go.
Yeah, 2 games, and one of the teams that's looked terrible through 2 games, even if they do have a win, is Man United. This
Mm-hmm.
weekend they did not get a win, lost 2-0 to Tottenham, thanks to a goal from Sarr for Tottenham and then an own goal from Lissandro Martinez. Terrible stuff for Man U, and it wasn't even like they played as poorly as they did in that Wolves match. But Tottenham brought the fight to them, and they've looked decent so far after losing Harry Kane.
Yeah, they really have. They've looked far better than I thought they would. They're getting goals, which that was like my main thing was I was like, who's going to score for them? It sure as hell is not going to be Richarlison, and to be fair, it hasn't yet. But yeah, got the goals from Sarr and obviously that own goal, right? But so I guess they only scored one. But still, I mean, it doesn't really matter how you score. What matters is that you actually score. So fair play to them. And did Madison get an assist? I don't think he did, right?
No, there was no assist on the goal.
I still think it's interesting that I still think Madison's performing far better right now than Mason Mount.
Oh yeah, Mason Mount and Kai Havertz. The race for 007 as I'm seeing it,
Yeah.
which at the moment not looking great for either.
Nope.
Oh well. Team that did look good, and this is probably one of the last 2 matches we're going to talk in depth about of this past weekend. Man City, Newcastle. We had that touted as our match of the week. No Kevin De Bruyne, as you all know. For Man City, he is likely out until the beginning of 2024. Huge loss there. Didn't stop them at all.
Nope.
Takes 31 minutes. Phil Foden assisting Julian Alvarez for the 1-0
Dude,
win.
what
And
a goal.
yeah, City looks so good still.
Yeah, and that's the problem, dude. They're so deep. Their depth is incredible. I mean, Holland didn't get on the score sheet, but then Alvarez just whipped out a world class hit, went far across the goal, top bins. I mean, they're just good from top to bottom. And now what's terrifying to me is that they're just adding more people. They got oh my gosh, how am I spacing on his name? I really write about him last night. Doku. Doku
Yeah.
coming in, who's going to be just another addition in their attack. I mean, I was hoping Newcastle would put up more of a fight, especially defensively, but City was looking pretty good. Like they were still able to do their thing. Obviously, they're still missing De Bruyne, but I mean they had 14 shots, 4 of which were on target. They dominated the possession. Yeah, they're still looking good, especially against Newcastle, who is known for their defensive fortitude. Yeah, I think that's very encouraging sign for City fans everywhere because they looked really good.
Yeah, I mean, Newcastle obviously won last weekend 5-1 against a good Aston Villa side. Man City did play the previous Friday, so you would think they had time off, but they played that midweek UEFA Super Cup in Greece. So they had to travel to Athens from Manchester and go back.
And they went to pens, so they
Yep,
played extra, like longer than just a 90-minute game.
yep,
So it's mental and physical fatigue, and then you go a few days later have to play Newcastle, and then you win. So
yep. Even if that one did go directly to penalties, they didn't have extra time, I don't believe, in the UEFA Super Cup.
but it still is
It's
extra.
still, oh no, it's definitely the mental aspect as well. It adds an extra time, add that extra stress. You go a little later into the night, you party a little later into the night, all that stuff adds up. But they dominated still, even on a short week. Had a few more shots on target, 4-1 in favor of City. Possession 60-40 in favor of Manchester City, and I just don't see anyone really stopping them this early. They didn't even make a single substitution. They were just fine with like, yep, here's the 11. We're gonna run with it.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna take something big time from someone to keep them from winning it again. I think, based on what we've seen so far. Maybe it is a Trossard crappy goal like that somehow propels someone past City. I feel like that's what it's going to have to take because I just think top to bottom they're just so good. I don't think anyone even comes close to touching them with strength of 11. Across the board. It's going to take something special, and I think they really showed that against Newcastle. Like you said, very good Newcastle team that absolutely wiped the floor with a good Aston Villa side who's also known for their defensive ability, and City was able to keep them off the score sheet, close down Isak, close down Newcastle's attack, and then scored a goal. They got the goal they needed from Alvarez, absolute wonder goal. So if they're able to keep getting goals like that in these situations, even if Haaland is shut out of games, which people are going to focus their energy on him, they can get those other guys to step up. It's going to be a long season for the rest of the league.
Yeah, I think Julian Alvarez fitting into that number 10 spot is just amazing. He's the perfect player to do there because he can score. He was a striker for a long time.
Yeah.
He can facilitate the ball well, can make open areas. And I mean, with Haaland drawing in multiple defenders, he's the perfect guy to kind of slip in, find the open space, and finish it off like he did this past weekend.
Yeah.
Do want to touch on the two matches on Sunday really quickly. Two blowouts. And Everton are looking like a relegation side again. 4-0 thrashing by Aston Villa. It was 2-0 at the break, full 6 minutes into the second half, and one later in the second half for Aston Villa. Beats the Toffees 4-0, and those fans were leaving early. The Everton supporters, I don't know if you saw any of that. They were heading out and heading home, booing their team off at the beginning or at halftime and at the end of the match. Everything is looking downhill.
Yeah. Before the season started, I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, it feels like Everton doesn't go down. I think they're going to stay up. But like you said, right now they look like a relegation team. I mean, 4-0 thrashing. Don't get me wrong, Villa's good. We've been saying Villa's good, but 4-0 to Villa should never happen. It really shouldn't, because that means something's going wrong. I think losing by 4 goals to anyone shows that something's going wrong. So yeah, they just don't look very impressive at all. Everton, again, you don't want to say anything because we're only 2 matches in, but you lose 1-0 to Fulham in a game that you probably should have won. So that's already devastating to you to lose at home on the opening day, and then you go and get absolutely thrashed at Villa. That's a terrible way to start the season. The morale is going to be down. Fan morale is going to be down. They need something to turn around right now, because I guarantee, like, if you're an Everton fan, you're still feeling the effects of last season where you were this close to going down. Yeah. So right now you're on edge and you see things already going poorly. I wonder if it's carrying over to the players as well. They're like, oh, crap, here we go again. So if you're Everton, you really need something to get going, like, in your favor. They've got Wolves at home. That could be a game that you could do that. But Wolves look good against United, and Everton shows up like they did against Villa. It's going to be another long day for them.
I was about to say you brought up the Wolves match. They do have a relatively friendlier next 6 matches in the Premier League. See, home to Wolves, at Sheffield, the one that is almost guaranteed a loss, home to at Arsenal,
Mm.
and they play at Brentford, home to Luton, and home to Bournemouth. That's actually a very big stretch for Everton because if they struggle to win any of those or like maybe end up winless, I do think they'll get 1, maybe 2 wins of that stretch. Then they're in for a rough going because after that it just gets harder and harder and harder for them.
Yes, they really need to take advantage of this stretch, like you said, because if you don't pick up the points you need, and then you got to play the big boys. You're in trouble, and that's how relegation happens.
Yes, it is. You lose the momentum early, and then it just keeps getting battered and battered and battered.
Hmm.
I want to talk about a team that was kind of in the relegation battle last year, but their new signing, and this might be, it's again early. This is only his first match, but James Ward-Prowse could end up being the signing of the season for West Ham,
Mm.
mostly because 30 million is the price that they paid for him from Southampton. 2 assists in his West Ham debut against Chelsea over the weekend. That was a fun one. Loved seeing Chelsea lose, especially when Chelsea had a chance to go up with a penalty kick that Enzo Fernandez missed.
Terrible.
And I'm not, I saw the penalty call. I didn't think it really was a penalty. I didn't think Sterling got hit that much. I understand it. Like, it's probably the right call, but had there been no VAR, I don't think that would have been given.
I hate how Sterling just throws himself every play, though, man. Anytime he can, he throws himself, throws his hands back like this. It annoys me. And like you said, it's probably the right call, but I 100% agree. When you watch that, you're like, bro, are you serious? Like, get the hell up.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, ball don't lie. If you want to say that,
Well, not.
yeah. So
10 men West Ham after Naif Agurd got his second yellow in the 67th minute, therefore getting his red card and finding his way to the locker room early. West Ham held on. Luis Paqueta got a penalty in the 95th minute to seal the deal. And I don't know. It's great. I will say I thought Chelsea was going to kind of get their act together a bit this year. Again, it's early. Still plenty of time, but I had them finishing in the top 6 or 7 going to Europe. Which might be a bold prediction considering last year, and it looks like they're going to throw more random money around at the moment.
yeah,
Looking like they might be signing a goalkeeper from the New England Revolution.
another one. To be fair, he is quite good, but I
Is he
still like, bro.
caliber?
I don't think so. Maybe he could be. He's well. I think he's 23, but
Yeah.
like, dude, it just feels like the ownership is like, oh, what's going wrong? Oh, let's just go out and buy this guy. Let's buy this guy. They don't have a plan. They don't have a structured plan. And I look, it's a little biased probably being an Arsenal fan, but I like the way Arsenal's approached the rebuild, where you build the foundation, you get the right players in that fit the system you want to play, you build it through the young guys and the academy players, and you go from there. With Chelsea, it's let's go for this guy, let's go for this guy, let's go for this guy, and then try to throw together a team. And then Caicedo gives up a penalty, and then you see other players not performing. It, dude, I don't think they're going to get Europe this year again. I 100% don't think so. I had them finishing 8th before the season. I'm going to stick by that right now. I love Pochettino as a manager. I think he's a great manager. I just think he's in a hard situation because at the end of the day, if the owners want to go spend over $1 billion in like 3 to 4 windows, you can't really control that, and you kind of just have to go with it because they're the ones paying your salary. If they were smart, I'd let Pochettino build it up the way he wants to, because when Pochettino has a chance to do that, he gets good teams. The Southampton team was really good. His Tottenham teams were pretty good, even though they didn't win anything.
Yeah, but that's the Tottenham.
Yeah, that's not. I don't think that's on Poch. I just think that's the logo. But yeah, if you're Chelsea, I just take a step back, get out a whiteboard, get some squad planning done, and build from there. And realize you're not going to win the league right away.
Yep.
It'll probably take you 3 years before you're competing again. That's just how it works. that's how rebuilds work. You don't immediately go back to the top. You don't. But I like what examples do you have of people doing that? I don't think I can't really think of any in
You
in
just prove
football.
something and suddenly it rises up. No, it just doesn't really happen. It takes time, especially in this era of all the money being spent and other teams spending it far more wisely. And he also finds himself with a little bit of trouble because the goal scorer on Sunday,
Yeah, dude.
Ari Chukwuemeka, has now undergone knee surgery. 19-year-old will be out for who knows how long at this point. It's just things go from bad to worse for Chelsea at the moment, and it's kind of funny to watch, but at the same time, you got to feel for them a little bit, maybe not really, but
I do, but I don't. I'm loving that I'm seeing players who leave Chelsea to ball out at their new clubs. They see Pulisic's debut goal. Whew.
we were talking about that. We do the Vendetta Sports Media Daily Show, which you guys should tune into every day, Monday through Friday. But we were talking on that about how Serie A would be the perfect league for Pulisic. That was a banger.
Banger. But yeah, going back to Chelsea, dude. First of all, if you're a player, why would you want to go there right now? I remember when I saw Adams was going to Chelsea. I might honestly rather go to Bournemouth. Yeah, it's the money, obviously. It's the money, but still, like, it's just they're a dumpster fire right now.
Yep.
So
And it doesn't show any signs of really getting better. They might get a break by playing Luton, Forest, and Bournemouth in their next three, but even then,
you say
give,
that.
give me the Luton upset.
Oh,
Actually, the one I really want to see in the EFL Cup, the Caribou Cup round two, give me the Wimbledon upset at Stamford Bridge.
come on, you Dons.
Would love to see that happen. That would be brilliant. But looking at some other news that's going around the Premier League, Pep Guardiola will be missing Man City's next two matches. He just underwent back surgery and he'll be recovering in Barcelona. Decent loss. I mean, anytime you lose your manager, it's kind of a big deal, but it is City. Whoever takes over will be fine, and they do only have to play at Sheffield United and home to Fulham, two teams that have looked relatively disappointing thus far.
Yeah, so they should be fine. You, God, why couldn't he have gotten back surgery before the Newcastle game or something? Like, he timed that perfectly. He definitely timed that. It's like, okay, Sheffield United, and then Fulham at home.
Yep, we've got it. And who is it that's going to be filling in for him? Looks like it will be. I just saw his name. Juanma Lilo, who was kind of been one of his assistant coaches recently. This is his second spell at Man City underneath Pep Guardiola. So we'll see.
We'll see. Hey,
I'll take
for the
I'll take
Blade, man.
I'll take City in both of those, but maybe something to consider if you're a betting fan. Maybe the goals move one way or another.
Off the Blades.
I haven't seen too much other recent news around the league, but some apart from some of the stuff we've already covered. So that takes us into this upcoming weekend, match week 3, and we will start with the clear match of the week. Newcastle are at home to Liverpool. Second straight week, we will be featuring Newcastle as our match of the week. Is it because they're good? Is it because they're playing good teams?
Yep.
Probably a bit of both. But Newcastle, Liverpool started out with both teams coming off a tough weekend. Liverpool did end up getting the win, but did not look good at all. They'll be lucky getting McAllister back. Newcastle will want redemption after a 1-0 loss against Man City, which there were spots where they could have potentially gotten something out of it, but at the end of the day, it's Man City. You didn't really expect him to.
Yeah.
Big match for both of these teams just to build some confidence.
Mm-hmm. And this one, I'm very interested to see how Newcastle reacts from the loss to City. It should just be water off their back, like whatever. It's City at City. We lost. We move on. I'm hoping for their sake that it doesn't like take that toll. Like, oh, we thought we might be able to beat him, because I don't think most of us thought they actually would. We thought there was a chance, and we were hoping, but deep down we're like, okay, City should end up winning the game. It's at City. And now they're going against a Liverpool team who, like we said, has just not been very good. to start out the year. That Chelsea game to start out, they were not good at all. I think Chelsea definitely deserved to win that game. And then against Bournemouth, they let they let the Cherries shoot 13 times against them and got 5 on target. That's not good defensively, especially you're going against a Newcastle team that has Isak up top. And then they can bring in Callum Wilson off the bench. So you have the goal scorers, and you have Almiron on the wing. You've got Gordon on the wing. You've got coming off the bench. You have Harvey Barnes. You've got Murphy. You've got these guys who can do bits, and then Tonali, guys who can actually play. So this I feel like is going to be a pretty big game for Liverpool, not just because it's against Newcastle, but I feel like this will kind of determine who Liverpool is this year. If they get run off the pitch at Newcastle, which could very easily happen, you got to wonder, is this just going to be a terrible year for Liverpool? And like you said, the seventh year syndrome with Klopp, you got to wonder, is that going to be a thing again? And if you're Newcastle, you got to look at this like, okay, Liverpool, they're in shambles right now. We need to take advantage of this, get momentum going again. So I feel like it's a huge game for both teams because one really needs something to go their way. Even though they won against Bournemouth, I don't think they've looked impressive. They look impressive this game. That builds confidence. And if you're Newcastle, you beat Liverpool, you've beaten Aston Villa, and you played a decent game against City. That's a great start to the year, and that's another confidence builder. So big game in both ways for these two teams.
Absolutely, definitely that big one. As you mentioned, Liverpool did give up 13 shots against Bournemouth. Newcastle had 13 shots on target against Aston Villa and scored 5 times. You half that because you assume they had 5, 6 on target. That's still 2 or 3 goals.
Mm-hmm.
Something that Liverpool will not be looking to give is that. And for me, it's the midfield. The midfield of Newcastle could be a huge difference because they've been playing relatively well. Joe Linton, Bruno Guimaraes, and Sandro Tonali. Those 3 guys could be the difference maker. If they can control the midfield against Liverpool, that gives their guys a bit more open on the attack. Also keeps Mo Salah away from the ball, which that's the best thing you can do when you're defending Liverpool. Make sure he doesn't get the touches because he will make you pay for sure. I do like Newcastle in this one.
Oh, yeah.
It is at home. It's going to be very close, but it's the fact you said they have Gordon, they have Isak, they can bring on Callum Wilson off the bench, bring on Harvey Barnes. It's a team that is dangerous and could get a very good result out of this. They did lose both matches against Liverpool last year, so have that in the back of your mind. But this looks like a much more complete Newcastle side than it did a year ago. Everything seems to be clicking, regardless it is early, but still nonetheless one to keep an eye on. And it could be one that separates these two teams at the end of the season if fighting for that Champions League spot. That's something else you always have to think about. The wins early could be a huge break for you later in the season when you're fatigued. Everyone's fatigued and you kind of are scrapping for draws and not necessarily winning matches. You look back at these earlier ones, and this is one in my mind that could be a Champions League spot decider.
Oh, 100%. Going back to the point you made earlier, you got to think Newcastle's midfield is better right now than Liverpool's. What do you say? With Bruno Guimaraes, Joe Linton, and now Tonali, I think it's one of the best in the Prem, and I think it's better than Liverpool's by far.
I mean, looking at Liverpool's, it's Cody Gakpo, who's not really a true midfielder. He's a winger. Alexis McAllister, and then Dominique Szoboszlai.
Szoboszlai, yeah. And it's
oh man, that was just not the right pronunciation, but that's okay. A lot of Z's, a lot of S's.
Yeah, it's that Hungarian in it, man.
Yeah, but those 3 are just, it's not it, in my opinion.
It could be, but it's not right now. I think, you need someone else in there besides Gakpo. I don't think Gakpo should be in the midfield if you want a strong midfield. The other 2, they can do bits, but you need someone else in there and you need time to kind of let it mold. I'm actually impressed with how good Tonali's looked, in my opinion, since coming in. He looks like he's right at home. It probably helps that Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Linton have been together for a little bit, so you're just adding one guy in who's just kind of able to figure it out easier, especially because he plays a little deeper. Whereas with Liverpool, you bring in McAllister and Szoboszlai in the same window, both of which have a little more attacking flair to them. Szoboszlai obviously more than McAllister, but two obviously is going to be harder to integrate than one, especially when the one you have for Liverpool isn't even a true midfielder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, there was also all that talk of Liverpool playing potentially Trent Alexander-Arnold in midfield at some points,
Which honestly,
which I think that would be a beneficial. But it's like as we've mentioned multiple times on this show today, Liverpool's giving up a lot of shots. I think that's in part because they're not controlling the midfield. They're letting other teams take advantage of them in the midfield, get a little possession going, find a shot, and just rip it. Even if it's not a great shot, it's still a shot nonetheless. And eventually, those will be going in
yeah,
against better opponents.
the more you concede, the better chance there is that the team scores on you. So
But any other final points you want to make? What's your prediction for this Newcastle and Liverpool match?
2-1 Newcastle. I could also see it being 3-1, but I'm going to go within a goal. I think it'll be close. I see Liverpool scoring on the counter, but I do see Newcastle kind of taking it to them a little bit more and getting the result.
I think this will be a Nick Pope masterclass. I'm having Newcastle winning this 2-0. I do think Liverpool will get a fair share of shots, especially Salah will have a one-on-one, and Pope will come up big in this match to kind of keep them ahead and win this one. Looking around at the other matches this weekend, Chelsea versus Luton Town, not a whole lot to talk about there.
Chelsea.
Luton might be the favorite because Chelsea's looked piss poor. Bournemouth Hotspurs, nothing great. As we said before the show even started, it's not a very exciting weekend of matches on paper.
Yeah.
I like the one I'll give a shout to Everton and Wolves. That could be an exciting one solely because it's two relegation sides, two teams that have not won a game yet, not even gotten a point yet. So I'll talk on that one a bit.
Yeah. Wolves, first of all, looked actually good, I want to say. Especially against United. I thought they looked good. Obviously, the red card didn't help against Brighton, but Brighton's cooking right now, which we need to talk about the Brighton-West Ham game after this because that one actually could be pretty good.
That could be spicy.
But Wolves, I think, has had the unfortunate start of playing at United and getting absolutely screwed over. Anyone who argues otherwise is crazy and is living in a fairy tale land because that should have been a penalty. And even without that, Wolves should have scored. They just couldn't do it, which obviously is a bad thing for them. But it's a positive that you go to Old Trafford and you dominate the hell out of United. And then the game against Brighton this past match week obviously didn't go your way.
Not quite when you lose 4-1.
And when the red card happened, it was already 4-1, so it didn't really play a part. You just got run off the pitch.
Yeah, I mean,
Brighton right now is so good.
Yeah, I would just want to touch on that one very quickly as we kind of get before we transition. But like Brighton scored 3 goals in a 9-minute stretch to start the second half.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll touch more on that one more on Brighton's success when we're talking about that Brighton West Ham. But Wolves did not look good, and they were just played off the pitch in that one.
Yeah, but I think they've looked better than Everton.
Oh, agreed.
Well,
Everton's been trying to sign players, and just nothing's been working. I know there's a whole saga with Willie Gnonto from Leeds. Willie is now back training with the first team in Leeds, so I don't think a move will be happening anymore. They're not bringing in anybody. This Everton side, it's not getting any better. They're just kind of there
to take up space. It feels like.
Yeah, and losing 1-0 against Fulham at home on the opening day after staying up pretty much the last weekend of the season last year. You thought, okay, this team's going to come out with some fire. Did reasonably well in preseason, beating Sporting Lisbon, which I mean. It is preseason. Can't look into that all that much, but like I expected Everton to come out with a fire underneath them, and there's been no fire at all. Now Dominic Calvert-Lewin's injured again. And it's going from bad to worse because he came off again the loss against Villa, and I don't know who's going to step up for Everton to score goals. That's my biggest concern.
No one.
Yet to this season, and without DCL, we saw how it was last year. It was not good.
Yeah, it just doesn't look good for him. again, this could be a huge game for them. You're at home against Wolves, who's a very beatable team. But without, yeah, like you said, Calvert Lewin went off. He's hurt. Without him, who's going to score? As of right now, no one has scored for him. And you lose your main attacking threat. I don't know who's going to step up. Who, Jack Harrison? Like, I don't know.
He's hurt also.
Yeah, he's not even, yeah, he's out for like a month, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, like,
he's still out till at least September.
Yeah, so I don't think things look good for Everton, but this could be a very big game for morale if they can get a result. And if you're Wolves, going in with the same approach, unlucky against United. Okay, Brighton happened. Let's move on to this game. This is a very winnable game. So I think it could be a very good game. I actually have no idea who's going to win. That's the beauty of these kind of relegation 6-pointers. But yeah, I've got no prediction for you, but they could be fun.
I see this being like a 0-0, 1-0, or 1-all draw. I think this will be relatively dire match in Everton. No real offensive prowess. If anyone's going to win, I think it will be Wolves, but
yeah,
it's one of those things that's tough to predict. You did bring up a fun one, Brighton and West Ham this weekend from Brighton, south side of England. This will be fun. Brighton's arguably looked the best team in the league, not named Manchester City or Arsenal. Even then, Arsenal had a little bit of a scare against Crystal Palace there.
Look better than us.
No.
Brighton's look better than Arsenal.
I would agree. I mean, especially you've hated him a lot, Tomiyasu.
Oh my god, dude!
Had to bring that up quickly, but
he's so bad. He's actually so bad. Every time he steps onto the field, he does some dumbass shit, and then we're dealing with it. It's either passing it right to City, it's getting a red card. I don't. Dude! Every time he's on the field.
Yeah, and let's talk about that right quick before we do the. But I mean, because Brighton's been superb on the other hand. Tomiyasu, yellow card in the 60th minute, gets a second yellow 7 minutes later. Didn't do anything otherwise. He is just a hindrance. Arsenal did manage to hold on, though, 1-0.
Which is good, and I think that's a positive thing that shows our resolve, that gets morale up. You're like, okay, we were able to hold on, get the win. It wasn't a great game, though. I blame Tomiyasu about 80% for that.
Yep.
You win and you move on. You win and you move on. You can learn just as much from a game if you win or if you lose. So you'd much rather win and then be able to learn than tie or lose and then have to learn from that. So at least able to get 3 points.
A dub's a dub at the end of the day. Yeah. We were saying a bit with Liverpool, but Brighton hasn't had to worry about any of their first 2 matches. 4-1 against Luton and 4-1 against Wolves. Let's talk about that Wolves match. Sonny Marsh, as I mentioned earlier, they scored 3 goals in 9 minutes to start the second half. Sonny Marsh with 2 of those 3 goals, both assisted by Julio, Cesar, and Cinso. And they've just looked so good, Brighton. Everything's working. Offense, defense, special teams if they have that. No. But they've just pure domination, and that's why they're top of the league after 2 matches, scoring goals and not conceding any.
Yeah, they're scoring goals for fun right now. With Matoma, Solly Marsh, guys like that, they're just battering teams when they go forward. First, Matoma is one of the best players in the league right now.
One of the best midfielders by far. That's the kind of guy you would want Liverpool should be looking at, but I don't think Brighton's going to let him go at all.
Why would he want to go to Liverpool right now? I think Brighton.
No, he wouldn't want to go there. I'm saying that's what Liverpool should be looking at. If they have the money, they want to bring in players. But I wouldn't. I would stay in Brighton if I were him.
Oh, 100% right now. You guys are cooking. You have a +6 goal difference. You've scored 8 goals in 2 games. No one can stop you. They are just like, it's like they're a runaway train and no one can stop them when they get going in attack right now. Granted, the teams they've played are not
great,
the best.
But you can only play who's in front of you. That's why this West Ham match will be a big one for Brighton, because they looked good. Obviously thrashing a mediocre Chelsea side, but West Ham looks better with James Ward-Prowse than they did that first weekend.
Oh, 100%. Because now you have Alvarez and James Ward-Prowse in the midfield. Alvarez to play more of the defensive role, and then James Ward-Prowse to just do his thing. Which I'm shocked no bigger clubs tried to snap him up. I've always rated him,
Mhm.
even if he's not going to have the greatest game. All it takes is one set piece, and he will score it, or he will provide an assist. He is so good. And like you said, he could end up being the signing of the year because he went for so cheap.
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm amazed none of the bigger teams are even looking at him. Going down with Southampton, West Ham buying for 30 million.
Yeah.
That's a steal, especially with the prices we're seeing it people being bought for all over the world elsewise. Obviously, like I mentioned Saudis, but even in the Premier League, players are being bought for obviously Tonali, solid talent coming from AC Milan, but 70 mil. That seems a little steep for a guy who hasn't really proven himself all that much.
Bro, and don't even get me started on Caicedo's price tag. I've always
It's
been thinking
absurd. I mean,
that's
Kai Havertz,
high.
crazy price. Mason Mount, crazy price. And I
Yeah,
think that's why James Ward-Prowse might be the signing of this offseason, the summer at least.
yeah, 30 million to get that guy who is going to be able to create so much for you sitting in the midfield. Yeah, great signing. Like you said, they've looked so much better this week with him. So I'm really interested to see how West Ham performs in this game because obviously you got to be wary defensively because Brighton is showing that they can fly when they want to attack.
Yeah.
Matoma, Marsh, all these guys, they can.
Danny Welbeck.
Yeah, Dan
leading the line.
Welbeck up top, like they can score.
He's not might not be scoring a ton, but it seems like he's resurged his career since moving to Brighton.
Dude, he's creating havoc at the
Yeah.
very least, or like helping stuff happen. Which I hate when people used to say, "Oh, Firmino, he just like wreaks havoc when he's playing." I hated that because I always thought he kind of sucked. He couldn't score. And Welbeck's kind of doing that, but I still feel like for Brighton, that's all you need. If someone else is scoring, you don't need your striker to be scoring every game. You just need something to be working offensively, and it is right now for him.
Yeah. And I mean, last time they played at West Ham, it was a 4-0 win for the Seagulls, and Welbeck scored in that one. And I'll
Mhm.
say that's the other thing I'm very impressed with them is Brighton's losing players. We're losing players left and right this past summer, losing Caicedo, losing Alexis McAllister, losing two key players in their midfield, and they've just figured out
Mhm.
players who come in or just upgraded, and it's worked out perfectly. They're a good team.
Oh yeah,
And I don't think this is any fluke. I can very well see them punching above their weight this year. Obviously, not best opponents they've played so far, but getting another win, winning 3 for 3 to start the season would be great start for them, especially before they have to play some tougher teams because it does get harder. After this weekend, it's home to Newcastle, at Man U, week off against Bournemouth, and then at Villa, home to Liverpool, and at Man City.
yeah,
So getting a third win now, we will then give it 2 months' time. We'll be talking about how legit Brighton really are, but at the moment they look pretty legit.
yeah. They look like a team you definitely should be watching. As someone who could sneak into those European places and possibly challenge for Champions League. Again, very early, 2 games. You play Luton, you play Wolves, but you've looked damn good doing it. Better than other teams have looked playing the same team. So
And I mean,
it,
go ahead.
I was just going to say there could be something special for sure.
Absolutely, and they're just fun to watch play. Just their style, it's just entertaining to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
Roberto De Zerbi has been doing a great job with them, so
He's a great manager. That was
extremely underrated. And I mean,
Bruce Potter, and then you bring in him, who might actually be a better manager.
yeah,
So,
Potter set the way for Brighton, set up the foundation, and De
mm,
Zerbi is really taking control and has turned them into a legitimate contender,
yeah,
as of now at least for the top six for Europe. Looking at the other matches this weekend, is there anything else that really stands out to you?
I mean, honestly, not really. It's still fun to watch these games, see what happens.
Oh yeah,
Obviously, hoping Forest can get a result at Man U because that'd be hilarious and great for Matt Turner.
would be, and I mean we remember how that match went last year. Oh wait, no, it wasn't Forest. What? Oh yeah, because Forest just got promoted. Who was it that beat Man U last season, early in the season?
A lot of people.
That's true. There was one. I could have sworn it was Forest.
It was Bradford who killed him.
That's the one I'm thinking of. It was
Bradford killed him.
Forest. Yeah, it wasn't Forest, but it was Brentford who just came out and drubbed him. Love to see that if that was to happen again this season.
Going to the Arsenal Fulham game, Arsenal should kill him, I think, especially because Tim Ream is out with a red after getting a red last week. So that should be pretty straightforward.
It offsets the red to Tomiyasu, which is honestly a boost for Arsenal, as you've said.
Yeah, so, like he's out. Good. And finally.
I like Arsenal in that one.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the other matches this weekend, as I said, Friday is Chelsea versus Luton Town. Saturday, early match, Bournemouth home to Tottenham, Arsenal Fulham, Brentford Crystal Palace, which that could be an interesting one. Brentford and Palace. I don't think it's anything special, but it's two teams that could be fighting for similar positions later in the season. Just something to keep an eye on. She said Everton Wolves, Man U Forest, Brighton West Ham. Sunday's matches, Burnley Aston Villa. Burnley had a week off in preparation for Aston Villa. Maybe that helps them. Maybe they're a little more rested. Villa did also just come off a 4-0 thrashing of Everton, so that's momentum for them. Then we mentioned Sheffield United, Man City, and our match of the week, Newcastle, Liverpool. What do you think the score is going to be of that Sheffield Man City match? Because I'm thinking that could get up to like 4 or 5.
I was going to say 4. It could be a lot. Dude, I don't think they've done enough at all to like strengthen their team, especially defensively. I think they will get run through, and Holland has a field day.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I was going to go look at the odds right quick because I'm thinking I personally like betting on Premier League matches. It is fun. Man City is currently a minus 600 favorite.
Jesus.
And the game line, I want to see the spread. It's only 1.5. I was thinking Man City minus 3.5. It's only that's plus odds right there. So I might sprinkle a little on that. But Jackson, anything else you want to discuss regarding the Premier League and where we are at through match week 2 before we wrap this one up?
No, that's all it on my end. Just hoping we can get some good games this week, even though you don't see a lot of exciting matchups. It's still the Premier League. It's still the best league in the world. You're bound to have something exciting happen. So
yeah, something you haven't seen before, whether it is another drubbing by someone, Sheffield United proving all the doubters wrong, getting an amazing win over Man City, Luton beating Chelsea. Who knows? There's going to be fun action. We have 10 matches this weekend, Friday to Sunday. So sit back, enjoy the action, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching.